because my phone overheated. So that is something we'll keep in mind for the future. Whoopsie daisies. Right, hopefully my guest is able to rejoin. Trial by error. These things happen. And we learn and we grow collectively. What's up? What up? We're just waiting for my guest to rejoin. I was just on. Perfect. My bad about that, Phil. It was in the heat, and my phone just overheated. So now we know. Now we know. Sorry about that.
Hey, no problem.
Yeah,
I was
the,
like,
uh,
what?
the phone overheated.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
That's because you're out there in hot California. It's
yeah,
probably blazing. I remember you were talking about that before I got on. So yeah,
hmm
it
yeah.
happens.
And I didn't
Yeah,
want
I
to do
thought it
it
was
like I don't like the audio in here, but it's okay because
right,
what
right.
matters
Gotta
is
do it
conversation. So that's fine.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was me at first, so I started driving to see if I got a different Wi-Fi connection. That's when you were
No.
in. Yeah,
Yeah.
see.
Well, the good news is I'm more comfortable here, so at least
Okay,
I was
good
sweating my.
stuff. I can imagine.
Okay, all right. So hopping back into it, I think we lost the footage from that previous Instagram live, which is unfortunate. So I'll
Yeah.
just do a quick recap. Greg, love you. Really appreciate the time that you spent with us when we came to visit you, and how you were so gracious and opened your doors to us. However, after further consideration, we really do think that it makes the most sense to assign the role of head judge for the King of Naturals tournament to a natural athlete. We just think it makes the most sense. And I would love to circle back and figure out a better way to integrate you into this project. And I would still love to work with you. I just don't think that the role of head judge is perfect for you. I would rather give it to the legend, the legend. So,
Oh man, every time I hear that, it's funny to me, but God is good. God
yeah,
is good.
yeah. Okay. So picking right back up where we left off. So the idea is we crown the Natty King, and then the future of the fitness industry, the future of the sport, and the future of the world changes as a result of that pivotal moment, right?
Mm,
But the thing is
yes.
that the type of storyteller that I'm interested in being is we tell the future, but we also have an opportunity to tell the past. And I think it would be a really great opportunity to use your story and your, like the person that you are, as the legacy, like the back door, the event leading up to the moment that the Natty King actually gets crowned.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
uh that's humbling, but that'd be yeah, well, thank you. That yeah, what can I say?
Yeah. I mean,
Sounds great, yeah.
and like from my perspective, just with like your nickname alone, I don't know, man. I feel like there's a lot that we can do, you know? Like, I'll come out and say it. So my bodybuilding nickname is the solution. That I
Ah,
that's,
nice.
that's self-appointed. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. And
Love
the
it,
reason
love
I,
it.
yeah, and the reason I came up with it was because, from my perspective, this is the solution to the steroid problem.
Mm,
By by
amen.
by crowning the Natty King and by birthing this Natty cinematic universe, there will be more athletes in the future who would rather pursue the title of the Natty King than the Mr. Olympia. And since it came out of my brain, I'm calling myself the solution. And it's, that's, it just makes sense to me. I think it would be really cool for the solution to be mentored by the legend.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Really tie it all together, like a nice
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bow.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome, brother. That
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm speechless and humbled, but sounds great. Sounds
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. The first question that I genuinely have is I would love to hear the story as to how you got your nickname.
Yeah, that's even I somehow don't even know how it came about. Like I said, it's all God for me, but I've been competing since 1992. And when I got started, I actually didn't even know anything about natural bodybuilding being a lifetime natural, but I competed at NPC, and then I finally found the INBA, ABA at the time, competed with them, and I started winning. Once I turned pro in 2003, I just started rattling off win after win on the pro stage, and even I was shocked because I was always like second, third, fourth, fifth, but I was still enjoying the sport. And when I turned pro, I started going up against just the best of the best at that time, from pretty much 2003 through 2010. And I competed in lots of different natural federations at the time: Musclemania, INBA, PNBA, obviously. There's NGA, there's IFPA, which is OCB. And I was going up against the top people at the time, and I was coming out on top. And I finally got a sponsor in 2010, and the sponsor was amazing. His name is Jason Hansen from the Body Evolution out of Utah. And we forged such a great friendship. And I just retired from the military. And so when I left the military, I was in California at first, and then when I retired, and that's where the INBA PNBA is located. That's their headquarters. And I flew out, and I'm in Virginia, the Washington, D.C. area. And I said, there's no shows out here that are promoting the INBA, PNBA. So what are we going to do about that? Because I want to still be involved. And they told me, well, why don't you promote the show out there? And I was like, I guess I'm an athlete, not a promoter, right? I know how much work it takes to do it. So my sponsor, he was involved, and he's the brains, businessman, and everything else. And he's like, okay, we have to have a cool name, for your show. And he said, you have been winning, conquering, you've been competing all this time. We're going to call it the Legend. You're going to be the Legend. And so the show was called the Legends Classic. And that name just stuck with me because it was part of the show that I've been promoting since 2014. So I've been promoting that show for 11, 12 years straight, even through COVID and everything else. And everyone just kept calling me the Legend. And I had the Hall of Fame for natural bodybuilding in 2015, and it just kept carrying on throughout the years. And so I just, like I said, my career's been so blessed, and every time I've been able to get on stage, just like you saw in Generation 9 and 4, God's always just been with me somehow, some way. And yeah, I think that's the only reason why I got that name.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's like this was meant to be.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is, because what I've noticed specifically within the sport of bodybuilding, but you could apply it to other sports, stories are made by rivalries. Specifically in
Yes.
sports. Okay, so like pumping iron, Arnold Schwarzenegger's rival was Lou Ferrigno, and
Yeah.
honestly, it was kind of like a false narrative, just because Serge Brett was really the bigger competition between the two. But my
Right.
understanding from the research that I've done is that Sturge was too big of a competition. He was too much of a threat. So they focused on Lou Ferrigno, who was basically the polar opposite personality wise, and they built the story around Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno. So what I would like to do with your story, you are the legend. I mean, you were the legend before I even met you. I think it would be a really fun thing to discover or have the community of natural bodybuilding identify who the original or the legacy Natty King is, and sort of have like a duality or like a parallel between your career as the legend and whoever the community as a whole decides to elect as like the OG
Wow.
legacy Natty
Right.
King. And then like we would
Right. Right.
have that form of contrast of the legacy athletes, and like these are the top candidates for like the people who are existing prior to the Natty King existing.
It totally makes sense. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I think
Yeah.
that's good because there are so many amazing natural bodybuilders. And if I had the time to research and like tell you who I thought were my top guys, some of them which I did compete against, I think the fans, especially the older, OGs out there, would love to basically, say, yep, I'll vote for this candidate. You can have a top 10, top 20, and then narrow it down to who we end up feeling are the best ones to create that rivalry for.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's exactly where I want to get Kenny involved. I want to
Yes.
recruit the help
Yes.
of Kenny because I was just watching a video earlier today. He had a woman named Vicky on, who I believe she
Yeah,
runs DFAC.
she runs a DFAC. Yeah, she's an amazing. I've competed with her, and she has so many great athletes from the from Europe, sorry, from England. And there's some guys out there, I mean, some amazing athletes. And people kind of sleep on the European athletes. They are just incredible. They bring the condition. I faced a few of them. There's a couple of them out there that I didn't get a chance to compete that would have been a true dogfight. One guy's name is Rob Hope, who many call like he was the giant killer. And he was unbeaten in a DFAC WNBF. There's another guy that I love, David Kay, whose physique is phenomenal. He's somebody I never had the opportunity of competing against, but once again, he is unreal. So these are guys that Vicky, um, you know, coached and had as part of her team. But yeah, she's another historian that you can reach out to.
Yeah, so Kenny and Vicky are definitely on the list. I almost need like a council or a committee,
Yes,
yeah, to like really figure out who like the top guys of this legacy is and identify them. And then, however it works out, we need to find out who would have been the Natty King if we were actually doing this promotion 10, 20 years ago. We need to get that answer, and we'll be able to put him next to you. So it'll be the
right.
legend and whatever name we end up going with, and like we'll have that. You guys are going to represent the legacy of the Natty King. Yeah,
Nice. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Okay,
Wow.
cool. All right. So, are you down to be my mentor?
I am down to be your mentor. I think at this stage in my career, I just feel God has put it upon me to just share what I've learned, and I've had so many people in my corner that help me get to where I'm at. Everyone thinks that bodybuilding is a, solo, selfish sport. In many ways, it is. But I can say, at least for me, that if it weren't for all these other individuals in my life that helped to mentor me, I could have gone in so many different ways and strayed away. But it kept me grounded. It kept me knowing the path that I needed to take in natural bodybuilding to get to the point that I'm here today. And I want to give that back, and I definitely want to give it back to you with your passion and with the way, you have this vision. It's amazing.
I appreciate that, and I'm incredibly excited. I've never had a mentor, and just a little bit of backstory about me is I don't really have real life heroes.
Mm,
I've got my father, and he kind of conditioned me in a certain way when he was raising me. And okay, how do I want to phrase this in like the most respectful and honorable way. My father was an incredibly ambitious man,
mm,
and he was a mayor of his hometown.
wow.
He's very proud of that accomplishment. Goes on to be a lawyer, basically because his father, from a very early age, was telling him, "Mark, you're going to be a lawyer." And he listened to his father, and he grows up and does all the things that his father kind of told him to do as a child. In my childhood, the only thing I heard out of my father's mouth was about how talented he was, how great he was, how much of a he would compare himself to Barack Obama and say, Barack Obama couldn't clean my shoes so far as his oratorial skills. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
wow,
he's
wow.
quoted saying that. And mind you, like the entire time, I'm like age 17 or something like that, and I'm listening to him, and I'm thinking, well, Barack Obama's on the TV and you're not. So, like if you
Right.
think you're some hot shit, wait till I show you. And honestly,
Yeah,
so then like you
yeah.
fast forward to like where I am now, and my ambition has been formed as a result of the amount of talking that my father did.
Mm,
And
mm,
now I'm at this point where I'm struggling with, like, I'm not supposed to do this on my own. I'm not supposed to do any of this on my own. And I'm looking to integrate people, mentors, colleagues, friends, compatriots, proteges, and I want to tell this beautiful mosaic of a story that is filled with thousands of people, all with different passions and pursuits, and show how it's like, because from my perspective, life is an ensemble piece. The greatest story of
mm,
all time is an ensemble piece. It's not just one person, it's the entire planet. And that's who I'm looking to highlight, the people who are living their lives with purpose and helping one another to achieve their respective goals.
Amen. I love it. I love it. I think, I'm glad that you had that vision because what I see a lot in natural bodybuilding now, besides the federations that I really love, is that they focus on the athletes here in the United States, right? But as you said, this is global. Like I know you mentioned before about maybe going to India and doing the Bollywood thing, and there's the Middle East that has their athletes, and I've seen that's the one blessing that I took away from pretty much my life, just being in the military, the Marine Corps, and also competing all over the world. I've met so many amazing people that gave me a worldly outlook of how things are. Like people can be stuck in their one little window of, oh, I'm great here. But to be great globally, it's a whole different level. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
And that's how I always felt whenever he was like, getting up on his podium at home talking about himself. It's like, okay, you're cool in this area, but
right.
like if the entire world hasn't given you that recognition, then I don't know if it's even appropriate to talk that big game. And
Yeah.
now as a result, I'm this super driven person who is looking to change the world on a global scale.
Amen.
Um, so one thing I really wanted to ask you. One thing that my father used to say is, if it doesn't serve you, if there's like a growth on your face and it doesn't serve you, you're supposed to remove it. And
Mm,
he always apply that to my ego, which I basically inherited from him. And I was always like confused about it because my ego has gotten me this far. My drive is centered around this ego, this desire to do things, to change, to make an impact in a very compelling, resonating way. And as I get to, as I continue to age and I'm building this empire, it's a fitness entertainment empire, I'm now starting to see where my ego doesn't hold as much value as it did perhaps in earlier years.
mm,
Where I am starting to perceive how, for example, and this is like the perfect example. The other day I was talking to my roommate and I was thinking like once we crown the Natty King, we should just take back the word bodybuilding. And we're doing a reboot of the sport and we're doing a reboot of the fitness industry. And perhaps once we do that reboot, maybe natural bodybuilders are just bodybuilders, and then everyone enhanced are enhanced bodybuilders. So that would mean that Mr. Olympia, that is an enhanced bodybuilder. Arnold Schwarzenegger, enhanced bodybuilder. Who's the greatest bodybuilder of all time? It would be someone like Shaun Fury or Philip Ricardo, or you get what I'm saying?
right, right, right.
We're no longer saying Shaun Fury is a great natural bodybuilder. We'll be saying Shaun Fury is a great bodybuilder. And if we're talking about Chris Bumstead or Samson Dauda or anyone, any one of those Mr. Olympia people, they're enhanced bodybuilders. And my roommate kind of brought it to my awareness, like why? Like why? What are you getting out of that? Is that for
Yeah.
you, or is that for the culture?
Mm,
And I recognize that like there is this like competition in me where like I sometimes I don't know how to fully express it, and I'm concerned that like I don't know how to sometimes wield my aggression, and I don't know where
mm.
it's coming from,
Wow.
and I don't know if it's appropriate. So let's start with that. Like, I would love to get your perspective on just that specific subject alone of the concept of reclaiming bodybuilding for natural athletes.
That's a very tough question, but I think the way that you started this conversation off is awesome because it gives me more of an answer that I can craft up that I think would be good.
Give me, give me
Yeah,
one
yeah,
second, Philip.
no problem. Yeah.
Sorry, sorry about that, Phil.
Yep. Can you hear me too? Am I breaking up or are you good? Okay,
No,
cool.
you're good.
So my thoughts is this, especially as I'm kind of very similar to you when I first started in the sport before Christ. I looked at myself when I started doing well in the sport as like, man, I could be something. I would look at other bodybuilders and say, I can be better than that person or that person or that person. Yet, especially when I came into the NPC, I was getting third, fourth, fifth place, and I just ended up turning my mind from saying I'm all that to knowing that there's always going to be somebody better. And I was okay with that because I actually learned. They pushed me to be a better bodybuilder, to get bigger, to grow my legs, to go this. So every battle that I lost made me more battle tested. And what I also learned, especially when I found natural bodybuilding, is that I started off bodybuilding loving the Arnold Schwarzeneggers, the Sean Rays, the Flex Wheelers, the Ronnie Colemans, the Chris Bunt. I started out loving these guys, and so to take bodybuilding away from that side of history would almost do a disservice to bodybuilding. So I feel the best way for us to maybe, promote natural bodybuilding is not to, disparage what's been done in the past, but to enhance what we can do in the future to show that, you know, people are sleeping on natural bodybuilders, that we're not just, these small, inconsequential athletes, that we have value, that the way we're doing it and the lifestyle that we have all should be celebrated. And I don't know how to best do it. I think that's what you're, working on doing now. But I think that should be the ultimate goal, in my opinion, because I still respect anyone that can step on stage and do what they do. Um, of course, I don't go the route that they go, and I don't want to seem like I'm better than anyone else. But at the same time, I do feel that natural athletes deserve a lot more than we've been getting. And I think doing it for the reasons that we're doing it, the health reasons and everything else, that should be celebrated because, that other side is very dangerous, as we've been seeing. And so there's probably a way of doing it without having to be in competition with them, at least as too hardcore, I guess, than to, I'm seeing all these comments, what's up? But, where we can actually highlight us as the good guys, so that's my thoughts, I guess.
I love that, and this is why that's. I mean, in universe, it makes sense to have you as my mentor, but outside of the universe, I wanted to because I can see that you're a level-headed guy, and I've got some stuff in me, man, that like sometimes I'm a little uncomfortable about.
Mm.
And all right, so understanding that this is supposed to culminate in this like really epic anime that's probably going to go down as one of the best animes ever because I'm such a great storyteller. Um, but two of my favorite animes. Are you familiar with Dragon Ball Z or One Piece?
Oh, come on, both. Dragon
Okay,
Ball Z is my favorite, so I've
great.
watched it from the very first episode all the way through. So I love
Love
that,
that.
yeah,
All right.
and One
This
Piece as well, yeah.
I'm so excited. All right, so both protagonists of One Piece and Dragon Ball Z, Goku and Monkey D. Luffy, are based off of the character of Sun Wukong, the
Mm.
Monkey King. Are you
Yes,
familiar with the
Monkey D.
Monkey King?
Yes, I am. Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
So I recently, I mean, I've spent pretty much my entire life, like I said, I don't really have a lot of real life heroes, but I do have plenty of fictional heroes. Goku being one of them, Monkey D. Luffy being another one. I could go on and on as to like the amount of fictional heroes I'm inspired by. But if we're just to focus on those two core protagonists and the fact that they are both derived from Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, I recently discovered that there's an actual book called The Monkey King: Journey to
Of
the West.
course, right,
Yes,
yeah.
and I recently started reading it, and
Wow.
I actually learned a lot because, in a, in an essence, I'm using my name and likeness to be a modern retelling of the Monkey King story,
Mm,
and
wow.
yes, and to put it in like the shortest summary possible, Monkey King, the great sage, equal to heaven, he becomes aware of his own mortality and then sets out on a quest to achieve immortality because he wants to live forever. And then once he learns that trick, he goes up to the heavens, drinks the elixir. He basically makes himself immortal 9 times over through like the
Mm,
various endeavors that he does. So now he can't die 9 times over. He learns all this magic and he becomes this super powerful individual. He can transform himself into 72 different transformations. He can get big, he can get small, he can turn himself into whatever he can conjure. You name it, like powers out the wazoo. The very epitome of what it means to be OP, like
mm,
overpowered, right?
right.
He becomes such a menace to the cosmic beings of that world that they're like, dude, like we don't know it. Like he's crashing our parties. He keeps showing up, like talking about how great he is, and like we
Right.
get it, but like, dude, like the guy's a nuisance. Like, calm the
Yeah.
fuck down, right? So, long story short, the Jade Emperor, who's basically reigning supreme in the heavens, he goes to Buddha, and Buddha's like, well, let me talk to him. Talks to the Monkey King, Sun Wukong, and he says, listen, you're so great, but I wonder, could you escape the palm of my hand? So he has Sun Wukong jump in his hand, and he's like, are you kidding me? Like, I can fly, 10 million light speed per second. Like, this is easy.
Right.
So he hops in the Buddha's palm, jumps out, and basically jumps to the edge of the universe. And at the edge of the universe, he sees five fleshy pink pillars. And he goes like, "Oh my God, I made it to the edge of the universe. I can't wait to tell the Buddha and tell him how stupid he is. Let me write my name on one of these pillars, and you know what? I'm also going to pee on the other one just to show that I was here." Then he jumps back to the Buddha's palm and is like, "Hey, bro, like I was just at the edge of the universe, bro. Like you have no idea." And Buddha was like, "Are you sure? Because like take a look at my right finger." And he takes a look and he sees his signature. And he's like, "And what's
Right.
that smell right there, like right in the crack?" And he smells his own urine. And he realizes that he never escaped the Buddha's palm.
Mm,
Long story short, his punishment for this entire experience is he gets buried underneath a large mountain for 500 years. And
wow.
during those 500 years, he's tasked with reflecting on his actions and the
Mm,
mayhem that he caused as a result of just being this huge, egotistical asshole, practically,
wow. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
When the 500 years pass, a monk comes along and he's going on a journey to the West, hence the name of the book,
Mm,
to receive some scriptures of enlightenment and to basically pass that around to the masses and help with spiritual awakenings. And he goes, okay, Monkey King, I know about you. And the Buddha actually prepared me to meet with you, and he handed me one of these gold circlets. So if you want to come with me and you want to like embark on this journey with me, I can let you out of the mountain. You have to wear this circlet, and that's when I know that I can trust you. Monkey King puts the circlet on, and essentially the circlet was magical, so that whenever he has like an impulse of rage, of aggression, of impudence, of any kind of negative feeling or emotion, the circlet
mm,
tightens around his brain to the point
wow.
where like his eyes are popping out. It creates an intense migraine. So as
Ooh.
long as the circlet is on his head, he has to stay in a calm state of mind.
Mm,
Otherwise, the circlet will get tighter.
yes.
That's exactly where I feel I'm at in my current journey,
Mm,
where I'm constantly aware of negative emotions or feelings of aggression. I do have this strong desire to dominate, like the world.
yeah.
And I know it's not good. I know that, and it's gotten me this far, but I know it doesn't serve me, you know? And I'm looking for people like you to kind of, I need help with humility. I
Mm,
need help with humility. And who better to help me than a person who has been dubbed the legend and has been competing at the highest level for decades in a sport that I'm looking to be the greatest of all time in?
amen. Yeah. Everything you said is, I love the story, by the way. And, it does fall in line with Dragon Ball Z and One Piece. And, we all need humility, brother. I'm not great, special. And that's one thing that I've learned over my career. I'm 54 right now. When I was competing at 21, I thought I was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then I had to be humble. And all the experiences that you go through, just like the Monkey King had to go through, and that you're going to go through, it will humble us. It's obviously better to do it sooner than later, before you make some, mistakes that'll haunt you for the rest of your life, which I've done a few of those. But I am looking forward to just learning more about you and maybe some of the triggers that you have, because I have triggers as well, and to really make sure that, this project that you are trying to do is done to the way where it doesn't consume you or consume any of us, because these things can. You already see what it's like to be, I don't know, an actor, superstar, in any sport, in any like movie or whatever it is. It takes lives, people that get so caught up in the worldly successes, and then all of a sudden you find out they died from an overdose or mental health or whatever it is. I'm not saying you're going that route, but I'm just saying it is good to keep things in a perspective where, yeah, we've got this goal. However, we can do it this way so that the audience that it reaches, it'll come across in a more, I don't know, palatable way where everyone can get something out of it, if that makes sense. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you're right on the money, and I think it's good that I'm aware of these feelings, and it's like they're. I don't think the journey just like ends just like that, you know, where okay, all of a sudden, because I I played with enlightenment before I ever got into Christianity,
Mm,
and when if a person came across me, you know, 5 years ago, and they would ask me if I'm religious, I would say I'm spiritual. And I
yes.
truly, I all of this has been, you know, being a spiritually minded person, well intentioned, and wanting to do good. Because, from my perspective, if I am treating the world good, it's a reflection of how I feel about myself. So if
Yes.
I treat my neighbor pleasantly and politely with kindness, I'm communicating with myself, and it's just a reflection of who I am and how I feel about myself. So that's
Amen.
what has allowed me to interact with people in good natured ways. However, I cannot deny the fact that there is this thing inside of me that is just burning for, like, I just want to jump up on a stage and say, like, I'm the greatest, you know?
Right. Hey,
Yeah.
nothing's wrong with that. And I love what Joseph is saying. The Christian faith we call it discipleship. It is discipleship. But I will tell you, and I wrestle with this. In order to be the best at anything, I mean, you look at the goats of any sport or whatever their endeavors are, you have to have a killer instinct. You have to have what you have. And so the key is, and just like you kind of, alluded to with the Monkey King, it's like, how do you channel the energy in the right way so that you get what you're trying to do, but not come off as that jerk or come off, because you're going to get more bees with honey. You're going to get people that will flock to you when they see like this guy's approachable. I love his energy. I also love the fact that he's got moral character. I mean, how can you not like this guy? But you also have to have some kind of toughness, killer instinct as well. It's to get both of those things is very tough to do. Um, but I feel if anybody can do that, it'd be you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you say this killer instinct that you're describing, would you say that that's within you?
It is for sure. There's no way I could have won all the titles that I won without a killer instinct. It's one of those things that I suppressed. Like when I knew, and we could probably talk about this at another time or another live or just you know, but all the battles that I've had from the very first time when I went on the first pro stage, I went on there like an underdog. I was going against the reigning Mr. Universe and the guy from Canada that was Mr. Canada. I had just turned pro and I didn't even care. I didn't think I had even a chance to win because I was a fresh pro. And when I won, I was so shocked. And then the next pro show I did, I won. So then I'm like, wow. And I just use whatever that successful prep that I did at each show. And I had the confidence in me. Like if I pointed out who's the next best guy, you have to point that person out and you have to have a killer instinct within you saying, it's like Rocky Four, right? I always go to Rocky Four where I got the Russian on the wall looking at his picture every day. And if you don't have that kind of like, I can beat that person and what it's going to take, then you're not going to do it. You can't go in there as the nice guy, humble guy all the time and say, oh, whatever, whatever. You do have to have that sense of, I'm going to win. But
Yeah.
at the same time, when you go there, like even when I met my rival or nemesis at the time or whatever, it was always
Kyoshi.
love. Yeah, Kyoshi. There's Kyoshi. There's the Doug Millers. There's the Cleveland Thomases, Marshall Johnsons. Like everybody that I went up against, I had respect for them. When I looked at them, I was like, wow. Like when I saw Kyoshi, I looked at that guy like, wow, you have a blessed physique. We'll see. We're gonna go toe to toe, see how it goes. I would look for weaknesses. Unfortunately for him, he didn't have many. Same thing with the Doug Millers and the Cleveland Thomases and all the other greats, Martin Daniels. I can name off a whole string of people. Um, but yeah, when I went there and before I got on stage, it was always like, okay, I got to do whatever I could to show off my strengths, hide my weaknesses. When they strike their killer pose, do something else. It was just all these different things like a chess match that it took for me to be able to come out on top. Like I said, by the grace of God, I don't know how I did it in most of those shows, but I was able to do that. And so that mindset has to be there. But at the same time, everybody that I met backstage when I was there, they saw me as a joyful person. I love to talk to people who either knew me or fans or whatever, take pictures, but then still be ready to go out on stage and do battle.
Mm, I love that. I love that. Um, I know that it's getting dark on your end, and I know that you've probably
Yeah.
got plenty to go.
Yeah.
I want to ask this question, and then we can leave it there. One thing I want to really clarify with your experience as a elite level bodybuilder, a promoter, and a head judge. I think that there really is no better person to help build the infrastructure of the King of Naturals tournament. So I actually see a really great opportunity to set the criteria and make it very open to the public as to how we are actually judging these athletes,
Mm,
what's going into it, the politics behind it. One thing I've always been interested when it comes to this promotion and this project is to basically pull back the curtain as to how these decisions are being made so that there is no question, there is no confusion. When the Natty King gets crowned, everyone should know exactly why that person's getting crowned. And that is what I'm looking to do. And also, like the building from the ground up, that's supposed to be available to the public, just so people have that level of transparency. And it's going to carry on into politics when I make that segue in the future. My whole thing is like everything's open to the public. That's just how I like to work.
nice.
With that said, I'll leave you with this question, and then we can just keep the ball rolling for future conversations. I'm really passionate about the psychology of what it takes to be great within whatever
Mm.
passion, field, profession that you've chosen. And when I look at Michael Jordan, I'll ask you this question since you've achieved your own level of greatness within your sport. Take Michael Jordan. The question I ask is, was he born the greatest of all time, or did he make a choice at some point in his life to become the greatest of all time?
I believe he had the choice. I mean, it's kind of both in a way. But if you look at his story, and I don't remember all the details, but he wasn't always like the starter, in his upbringing of basketball. I remember, I don't know if it's high school or college where, he wasn't even like the starter. And then he, of course, went to, North Carolina and he played there. And it took him until a couple of years until he became the starter and, of course, helped him to, win the national championship and for him to reach that level. And then he goes to the Chicago Bulls. I think it was just one of those things where he had it in him, but it doesn't come about until you really put in the work. And he had to put in so much work with the constant practices. You have to live it, love it, breathe it every single day, sleep on it. It becomes part of your craft. And I think for him, that's what happened. Like he had it in him, but he didn't start off right away, being the best of the best. He just one of those things that he crafted. He grew his brand basically of
Hmm.
who he had to be the best. But it didn't start off like he didn't come out of high school like, oh, Michael Jordan's going to be the next phenom. Like he's 7 foot tall, this and that. No, he had to slowly but surely improve his game before he became the greatest of all time. You
Okay.
see people like even a Tom Brady in football, same thing. He came out of college, drafted in the fifth round or whatever, and next thing you know, he's winning 7 Super Bowls. And it's like that for a lot of people, unless you're Tiger Woods, who maybe he might be an exception. There's probably a few others, but for Michael Jordan, from the story that I've heard of him, he started off, and he had to grow into his body. And next thing you know, once he's in North Carolina and the Bulls, he's the man. Don't No one can stop him. Killer instinct.
I love it. So it is a choice. It is a choice,
It is
and
a choice. Yep,
choice is right here.
it is.
Okay, I'll leave it with a comment from Joseph. Champion mindset is balanced, strategic, focused, and dangerous. I like that. I like that.
Yes, there
Yeah.
you go, Joseph. I agree. Yes, sir.
Cool. Okay. Well, this is the second. This is the second of many. But I'm incredibly excited to have you on board in this way, in this capacity, and yeah, let's make history. Let's make history.
Let's do it.
Okay,
Let's do it. All right,
cool.
Sean.
All right, well, it was a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to our next discussion.
Sounds good. Have
All
a good
right,
night, Sean. All right,
you
peace.